Hey guys, in this video we're going to see what do we do if this layout is not acceptable, which obviously it's not acceptable, and how do we solve this. So what I have done previously was, in fact, after reviewing it, I do not even need these edge loops that I did with the current method. Let's see. So if I delete this guy, this edge loop is required so that it does not skew. The high res does not skew around this part, the part that looks something like this. So for example, this part will not skew, so that's why I added this particular edge loop around here so that it keeps it intact. Anyway, so let's see with this basic model, which is 184 triangles, how does it fare. I'm just going to come in and add some multicuts here. So multicut with the edge flow option on, so edge flow, and I'm going to just add in 1, 2, and this guy I'm going to edit edge flow, and these two I'm going to slide around there, and then edit edge flow as well. So edge flow, sorry, edit edge flow and edit edge flow. Right, so that it makes it a nicer curve, and around this part I will select these guys, edit edge flow, come in around here, edit edge flow. So pressing the G key, that will repeat the last repeated rule, and then this should be fine. Alright, so this is the second part where I'm going to go through without I'm going to try to optimize the UV and try to show some other possibilities if I get time. Cool, so let's get started. So I'm going to unfold this guy first. So I'm going to unfold all of these guys because they're not really straightened out, so that should be fine. Next up is we're going to experiment this. So we're going to come in to this guy, which is our low res mesh, file, export. I'm going to call this low res 02. Go to Marmoset and come to this same guy and say low res 02. So that'll be a bit more curvy on the top. That should be fine. And I'll come in this one and pick preview. Cool. There you go. So you get the same errors as last time. Slightly different. Okay, so the cage should be fine, and this should be a low res. Now I'm going to come into this one, duplicate it. This will be my low high, just purely used for bakes. And as long as you do not change how the shader looks like, right, it should be fine. So ideally, we're going to use this method and switch off our edge flow. I'm certain that this is going to work out, so I'm just going to fast forward this. So you have this high res, or this low res high res, and low high res 2. Come to this mesh, come to this guy, low high res 2, and bake preview. There you go. So that should be. Did I get the correct one? Low high res 2. Make sure I exported out the correct guy. Oops, I renamed the wrong one. And file, export selection. Preview, bake. That should be a perfect pick. These guys we missed, so let's come into Maya. Let's multicut these guys. That's fine. Alright, so that should be okay. File, export selection, export low high. Make sure the smoothing groups is on when you're exporting with FBX, and rebake this one. So that should be fine, and that should be fine. Alright, so this method works fine, and once I replace it with low res, we just need to preview this one and it's all fine. Cool. So this method is all known to people, and it's quite common. Even these guys, we just have to multi-cut around here and that should be fine. Cool. So we can come into Maya and now let's start optimizing our UV. So we'll come to this second guy and I want to say, alright, let's optimize this guy. So come to these ones, switch off the symmetry, and try straightening this out. Let's see how it looks like. What you can also do is you can also cut this in half, so that will make it more efficient. And that's one way of doing it. That will save up some UV space. Right now, I'm just going to scale it up slightly. Alright, so I'm going to straighten these guys out for sure. They will end up with some baking errors, but that's totally okay. So take this one, soften edge, J key, move it out. Select these edge loops, and once you curve them, straighten UVs, so that should be fine. If you guys cannot straighten UVs, let's just come into this UV and straighten them manually. Because my straighten UV is not the best, but it gets the job done most of the time. Come around here, straighten UV, and unfold along V, so that gets a decent unfold. And now we can stack them as we wish. So these two go hand in hand. So ideally we want to keep them as straight as we can. I think I overdid the layout a bit, but I'm sure I can fix that. So ideally we want to keep our UVs horizontally or vertically, and there you go. What seemed impossible is possible now, just by adjusting and playing Tetris a lot. Okay, so here we have our UVs laid out for us, and this layout should be fine, and everything else should be working pretty okay. And yeah, let's try to see if this one works out fine with the bake. Let's try duplicating it and multi-cutting it like crazy. So come in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there we have it. We have a high res, and this is our low. Let's go high. We edited the UV. So let's call this new UV. New UV. And so we're gonna come with this guy. This is our new UV file. Once again, every split UV will be hardened edge, and every UV that's connected to each other will be softened edge. This will be a new UV. And we're going to take low res new UV, copy that, export this one out. This is a low res high new UV. Come to Marmoset and let's set this up. So that's the same high res. Low res will change. So low res will be low res new UV. Sorry, wrong one. Low res. Yep, correct. So low res new UV. This will be the one that we did just now. And we'll come big. Make sure we just preview this one so we get a lot of skewing errors, a lot of stuff happening here. And we're gonna come in to this guy and say low res high new UV. So low res high new UV, and let's bake this guy. So come to bake, preview. So that's our super high res one. Everything else should be working fine. And yeah, let's double check this one is okay, and that's nice. So you have this, and now just replace it. The moment of truth, low res new UV, bigger preview. That's it. And I'm just going to change some of these glossiness values, some of these spec values of this one. Just preview or different material. Sorry, let's come here, change that. And there you have it. That's our pretty nice bake. Of course, by straighting UVs, we are going to get these weird errors. So we're going to come into our low res file, so you can see that low res file has these normals, and all we need to do is come to paint skew and paint our maps. So if you guys paint this out, you'll see that you will see errors around here. Now that means that this is entirely let me just clear this up. Let's go to our initial bake and let's only fix these ones. Let me just double check that. It's low as high. Let's redo this. This will be our high res, low as high. Just double check. So we pick, that's correct. So I wanted to check whether it's right or not. Is to just literally select both of these and to see the normals. See how the normals are straight. The normals are also straight, and yeah, that should be fine. So ideally they both share the same UV, just that the sometimes by adding these two lines can change some of the parts, but that's not to worry. Just come in and low res new and preview. So these parts are the only parts we need to change. So you come in here and come to a low res paint skew map and left click. There you go. If you don't want to left click so harshly, you can just control and click, but that will go back to this current bake, and that's not what we want. Let's redo this part. So that's the only thing with super low res UVs, mesh, sorry. The interpolation in between may change. So big preview, come in here, preview, and this part, paint skew maps. Just be careful with this one. Just paint this out. You don't want to touch those guys, you just want to touch these ones. That's the only issue with this one, is that you'll be very sensitive with a super low res file, or only try to replace the one that is actually needed, that needs help. If not, if you do even a slightest mistake of doing that, you get the wrong big. And yeah, as far as you don't like that, well, you can't help it, you still have to go back and redo that part. So I'm just going to skip this part until I'm just going to redo it lower. A small error, you always fix it inside Photoshop, but these guys are the ones that need more help. And there's no real undo in this case, because that's just how it is. If you would have the curves, then this would not be a problem. You would divide it as many times as we like. Or even if you would have one subdivision in between, it would actually be fine. Right? So in fact, this one, you can say the one that's causing us a problem is not having this one center line. And this one center line can do us a great deal of help. So I can come into this guide and I can say File, Export Selection, export it with low res new UV, come to this low res and redo that part. So low res new UV, and sorry, that's the low res high new UV, big preview, make sure that paint skew maps are not painted, clear that out, so that's not skewed. Then we come into low res new UV and preview, and that's slightly better. So that one edge loop can make a difference. Right, so you just come in, paint skew, paint it out, be as careful as you can, and yeah, that should solve most of the problem. There you go. So that's our current mesh, and there you go. Just make it slightly bit more glossy. You can add more specular to it, and there's geometry. And if you see our normals, if you come to bigger settings, so the normals are the only ones that you're seeing, right? Even though they are sort of cut in between, but it still looks fine and big. And that's the beauty about understanding baking. So that's it. So that's all we're going to talk about in this case. Right, this one edge loop makes a big difference, and this is coming to 300 triangles, and the UVs are pretty clean. Oh, as for the extra part, there was a time where I tried out all types of other methods. For example, I started off with this basic method where this particular UV shell, I try to keep it together, but I realized that while doing it, this smooth gauge technically does give us an average normal here, and we just need to make sure that this average that we get, as long as we have an edge loop around here to keep this straight and we don't get a skewed result, that should be fine, right? So for example, if I come into Maya and if I go to my previous low poly that I did, for example this one, I'll just delete this one. So delete, it's called just delete, and I will just delete this edge. Let's export this guy out. So File, Export Selection. This will be our new delete low res. And if I come to my low res, and if I get that guy in, delete low res, bigger settings, let's just remove all the skewed results, cure, bigger, big, preview, right? So here you get this skewed result. So that's why we had this center loop to keep this intact, and they don't skew from that corner to that corner. Because if you see our wireframe, so if I switch on my wireframe, and if I show you guys a wireframe, the interpolation happens between this normal all the way to that normal. So that's why it's going to stretch all the way until there. And another way to look through this is the average normals here. And even if you guys come in and you paint this guy out, so for example, let's say you come into this and you start painting it out, you start getting more errors. So even though this will show up, it'll show up that it'll show one side, but when you paint inside Marmoset, Marmoset will bake it for you this way, because it's baking it from the top and the side, and that's giving you the result from that side and that side. So then it's not good. So that's why we went through splitting out the UV. We can also keep the UV together, right? That's what I did earlier in my previous in these previous examples I did. I experimented them out, so these kind of work fine. Then I went through another medium where I tried out averaging and keeping these edge loops, something like this. These came to 360 triangles, so it was pretty high. Then we had another version where, you know, this is making the low res high res kind of thing. It came down to this guy, which was quite optimized. This one worked pretty well. So the logic here is that if I split out these guys, I have to make sure that this is a hardened edge wherever our UV split. That's the main concept. Wherever you split, make sure it's a hardened edge, and wherever you keep it together, make sure it's softened edge. So in this case, I was using the softened edge, hence I wanted these guys to get this average mesh. But since I was using smoothing cage inside Marmoset, I guess I didn't really need it, right? Because sometimes you just want to render flat, or you want to bake flat and edges separately with different settings. But in this case, this was actually not really required, as you have seen before. And then I have this low res, high res kind of thing. And what I have is I have this layout. So from start, we went from, well, I did this method where I kept it together, but it also works in this particular case where I showed you all. If I split it out from here, that's also fine. But this is the method where I kept the UV shell together. These two, I kept it together. Here we had some, so then I updated it, so you can see slightly different in terms of, let me just switch off these guys, right, so I can see. Just take some time to get update. So that's almost the same thing. The only difference here is that I have this edge loop around here, right, so that there was no skewing errors. But later on, I tried out the other method where I soften out this edge, but then I only softened out that one particular part. So as we can see from the shading group, and what I used to help me out is these two geometries. So I'll just show you guys. These two geometry looks almost identical. As long as the shading group is identical, you can you can add as many multi-cuts as you like, provided that you don't change the look and feel of the shading group. In this case, the smoothing group. Sorry, I don't know why I'm calling it a shading group, but the smoothing groups, which is the normals that I'm talking about. So these are average. You cannot really add any edge loop in between this averaged. And if I see another example, which is this one, this is a more recent example. See, both of them are the same. As long as you add edge loops and you don't change how smoothing groups look like, it actually works out fine. So I actually went with this one initially. This is roughly 228 triangles. It worked out fine for me, and these edge loops are straight rather than diagonal. So there are many ways to bake a particular object, many methods out there, but the core fundamental is exactly the same. Okay. So hopefully this helped you guys understand a bit on baking, and yeah, so hopefully this helped you guys. All right, so see you around next video. Do I even have a next video? Oh well, let's see. Bye bye.